The following podcast contains adult language and themes, so don't say we didn't fucking warn you.
You're listening to Sarah Talk. It's political.
You could run a fucking pet rock against
Right.
Donald Trump, and I would vote for the pet rock.
Yeah.
That's where we're at right
Yeah.
Critical.
One of the things that drives me nuts as an atheist is that my polling location is at a church. And I don't necessarily have a problem. I'm not going to like burst into flames walking into a church.
After being on this show and having heard your viewpoints on some things, my advice to you is don't test this, I won't burst into flames.
And positively LGBT positive.
In many states, you can still be evicted from housing simply for being gay or transgender. Stand and fight with us.
Oh, and occasionally completely absurd.
Oh, they're shutting us down. They're deplatforming us. I do a pretty good Alex Jones voice. We're turning the frogs gay.
Okay, you're sleeping in a child's room tonight because there's no way you're sleeping next to me. That is disgusting. I'm going to have nightmares.
And now, from Orlando, Florida, your host, Sarah Austin.
Hey everybody, welcome to SarahTalk live again. What? It's episode 145 on December 23rd, 2018. And it feels good to be back doing this thing live, but it feels weird to be doing it at like almost 4 o'clock in the afternoon
On a
on a
Sunday.
Sunday. Yeah, it's so strange. And hey, shout out to my folks for taking care of the kids. So Christmas time is here, y'all. We are prepared for a good old-fashioned family Christmas. My parents are down from Illinois.
We are knee-deep in baked goods.
Yeah, yesterday we spent all day making Christmas candy. What did we make? We made pretzels and peanut clusters, cookies. Yeah.
And more cookies.
Oh, and fudge. Brownies.
Brownies.
Yeah, we made brownies. So, and then today we were icing the sugar cookies right before we came in the show.
I was up at 8 in the morning baking snowballs, and I still have like half of my yield to still bake.
Yeah,
But I
you
said,
made
you know
a
what?
ton, though.
I made a shit ton. It's a family recipe, and I multiply it by 4 so that I can send everybody off a little sampling. And today, this year, I multiplied it by 8.
Everybody's
and-
going to get a bigger sampling.
We're talking, what do we say, 5.5 pounds of flour?
Yeah.
4 pounds of butter, 2.5 pounds of nuts. It's insanity.
Yep.
Anyway.
And of course, now that it's Christmas time, there's all kinds of Christmas miracles happening. Ruth Bader Ginsburg went into the hospital to have some cancer attacked again, and phoned in a vote from the hospital,
I love that woman.
which I think is pretty fucking great.
All right, people in the chat. Russell just sent me a private message wanting to know how much of the good stuff is coming his way. I don't know why he couldn't just post that in the chat.
Yeah, right.
You're getting enough. I'm contemplating whether or not I just bring your balls not baked and bring you the cooking instructions and some sugar.
Oh gosh.
I have huge containers in the fridge of the balls already shaped. They're chilling. They're just waiting for me to have the time. It's like an hour-long process just to do one cookie sheet full, which is like, 20 cookies? It takes me an hour to do 20 cookies.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Yeah. The productivity rate on that is. Dan sent us a picture of brown E's.
Well, I love you, Dan. The productivity rate is stupid because when I used to make them with Grandma, it was Grandma and her 3 little elf helpers, and now it's just Becca doing it
line.
all alone.
Yeah.
So if y'all would just help me.
Listen. So here's the plan. I'm really going to try to keep us to an hour today because we have other things to do. After this, we're going to go drive around, look at some Christmas lights.
Yes.
Nearby Celebration, Florida is where all of the rich people live, doctors and lawyers and such.
Yeah.
And they put up some really good Christmas displays.
Like they have storage units just for their Christmas displays.
Right. So we're going to drive around and look at some of those. Maybe I don't know if the pictures come out, maybe I'll take some pictures and post.
Yeah.
So it's nearing the end of the year, so lots of holiday things are happening, but it also means that some elected officials who were voted out of office or are retiring are making farewell speeches as they plan to leave office.
Ooh.
And I'm not prepared for this. So I'm going to have to load it up. One of those retiring Senator Orrin Hatch, Utah's former bishop of the church formerly known as Mormon, and ultra-conservative senator since 1977. Now, I want to be careful with that because there are some elected officials that I like that have been in office for a really long time. But as we'll talk as we go through some of these stories, I struggle with that gut reaction because my gut reaction is like, Jesus Christ, since 1977, move on.
Right.
So, anyway, I don't know. But he gave what sounded like a very compassionate speech on his retirement farewell speech. And we're going to listen to some of that here. But he urged the religious community to be a little bit nicer to the LGBTQ community.
More needed than in the fraught relationship between religious liberty and LGBTQ rights. There are some who would treat this issue as a zero-sum game, who would make the religious community and LGBTQ advocates into adversaries. In my opinion, this is a mistake. Pluralism shows us a better way. It shows us that protecting religious liberty and preserving the rights of LGBTQ individuals are not mutually exclusive. I challenge my colleagues to find a way of compromise on this crucially important issue. A compromise that is true to our founding principles, that is fair to all Americans.
I got a little lost in his notes there towards the end.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not the first he's spoken about this. Back in June, he gave a pro-LGBT speech in honor of Pride Month. So what I thought we'd talk about here with this is the reaction that these speeches have stoked. And again, like my first instinct is to go research all the shitty laws that he's voted for that harmed the LGBT community in the past 41, 42 years. In response to the June speech, Slate writer Sophie Worthen penned an article titled Too Little, Too Late that detailed a lot of these infractions. In 1977, he told a group of University of Utah students, quote, "I wouldn't want to see homosexuals teaching school any more than I'd want to see members of the American Nazi Party teaching school." And in the 90s, he supported the Defense of Marriage Act, voted against the Matthew Shepard and James Byrd Jr. Hate Crimes Prevention Act in 2009. 2012, he opposed the reauthorization of the Violence Against Women Act because it had language prohibiting discrimination against LGBT people. But as Worthen points out, his position seems to have softened a little bit since then. He was one of only 10 Republicans to vote for the Employment Non-Discrimination Act, ENDA, and in 2017 spoke in favor of transgender people in the military, saying, quote, "I don't think we should be discriminating against anyone. Transgender people are people and deserve the best we can do for them." And so the question becomes, at what point do we accept that a person has truly changed on an issue? Now, we talked a little bit about this with Hillary, who was not supportive of marriage equality prior to 2013. And even President Obama didn't announce support until 2012. So again, like my gut reaction is like, yes, absolutely. Too little, too late, old man.
Yeah, it's hard to know, like, what, if it's a sincere,
Right.
change
If he's truly
of heart,
changed, right.
then yeah, you've got to give them a little bit of leeway there, but it's really hard when they have such a concrete, long history, solid record. It's really difficult to know.
And maybe it would be like, so it would be different if he were making a farewell speech and had voted against the LGBT community every single time and not had any of this turnaround, where he voted for ENDA and spoke in favor of trans people in the military. Then I would have been like, okay, yeah, good for you. Like, okay, maybe you feel a little better about the queer people now, but but you're leaving office, so you're not going to do anything about it. What a perfect time to flip-flop on an issue.
Right.
When you have nothing to lose, your party...
Right. Nobody's going to vote you out for your change of heart.
Right.
But then also you get the warm fuzzies from those who are...
Right. Everybody goes, oh, look how he's changed.
But I find a lot of people have a change of heart on their proverbial deathbed. I mean, he's not dying, but it's the end of his career.
Right.
I don't know.
And here's another thought. You could say, if we judge people's decisions in 1970s by 2018 standards, then everybody looks like an asshole, right? There were very few people in our government who were standing up for the rights of gay people at that time.
Yeah.
So there's that, but then also, like, we certainly do judge and should judge the protectors of slavery by 2018 standards, right? We look back at that and we say, yeah, fuck those people. That was wrong now, it was wrong then.
Right.
And how dare you? So that idea that, like, well, that was just how it was back then, I think that's a little dismissive. And I think maybe there's still some validity in looking back at his long history and saying, shame on you. Good for you for changing your mind in your golden years.
Yeah.
As you head back to the Zion Curtain, but fuck you for all the damage you did.
Well, sure. I mean, there's only so much you can forgive a person for.
Right.
And really, I don't know, maybe he sleeps better at night, or maybe it's just I don't know. I don't get it.
Yeah. Before I move on to the next story, regarding questions about the the incident that happened, until I have further directive from counsel, I'm going to plead the fifth on any questions related to. I just don't think I should talk about it until
we need
until
to
that's wrapped
not
up,
publicly
not publicly.
put that out there. Yeah.
Right. So on the idea of people's positions changing over time, it seems like some people are finally jumping off the Trump train that's speeding towards collusion. State Senator Barbara Bollier renounced her 43-year membership in the Republican Party a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
Then State Representative Joy Costin, who lost her seat in this year's primary to a conservative challenger, joined Bollier the next day. Then State Senator Dinah Sykes and State Representative Stephanie Clayton said that they no longer believed the Republican Party could best represent them or their constituents, and that they were officially joining the Democratic Party.
Domino, domino, all fall down.
Now, largely, they all attributed this decision to feeling like the state party had moved too far to the extreme right in order to lockstep with the Republican National Party. And for them, that was just too far.
Yeah.
Bollier told Salon that when Kansas Republicans codified a statement against transgender identity in their platform, coupled with the blind support of President Trump's intolerant and dictatorial style, my moral compass said no. I can no longer be complicit with that ideology and now find my home with the Democratic Party, a group that stands up for the issues that matter most to my Senate district. She also told the Kansas City Star that Trump did not remotely represent her value system, and that the state party's anti-transgender proclamation, which reads, quote, "We believe God created two genders, male and female," was the final straw. I support the people of Kansas. I do not condemn whoever they are. So I say, welcome to the Democratic Party.
Yeah.
We need more defectors, and not just at the state level. This
Every
is just
level.
Kansas state officials. We need to see some national lawmakers disconnecting.
We need some voters. We need some every level. Oh my gosh.
So that's the good news. Here's the bad. Another educator is under fire for disrespecting a transgender student.
Of course.
I talked about a shit ton of these last week. You be glad you weren't here.
Yeah,
Last week was a rough episode.
No.
This time we go to West Virginia, where Liberty High School assistant principal Lee Livengood has been suspended after allegedly following a 15-year-old trans boy into the men's room where he was using a stall and asked him why he was in the men's room, allegedly telling him to, quote, come out here and use the urinal, end quote.
Oh, what an asshole.
To prove he was a boy. All this according to a complaint filed by the ACLU, but it gets worse. Then he reportedly blocked the exit and asked the boy what would happen if another boy thought he was checking him out in the bathroom. And as the boy left the bathroom, Living Good allegedly said, I'm not going to lie, you freak me out. So he was suspended with pay for the last 4 days of the semester. And according to the ACLU complaint, the boy's parents met with school administrators about the incident, but said administrators at the school refused to use the boy's preferred name. They wouldn't even use his name. And he continued to use his birth name over the intercom system and telling him he couldn't use the boy's bathroom. But in taking the assistant principal's side, Superintendent Mark Manchin, a cousin of Democratic Senator Joe Manchin, said that confrontation in the restroom never happened. He further said that while there's no written policy, the county school system doesn't allow transgender students to use restrooms matching their gender identity. He said, quote, we provide them a restroom, a private restroom right now, or they can use a restroom matching the sex on their birth certificate. But that doesn't tell the entire story. While the county district board and individual schools may not have a specific policy about restrooms, the State Board of Education has a policy which the county policy mirrors about harassment, intimidation, and bullying, which includes gender identity or expression.
Right.
And the superintendent repeated the scare tactic that he believes allowing transgender students to use restrooms matching their gender identity could make other students and parents uncomfortable. And like I often say, replace transgender with black, and it's easy to see how stupid and ridiculous and bad this is. What if it were, we provide black students a private restroom because letting blacks into the whites' restroom could make other students and parents uncomfortable? We've definitely heard this tired argument before. And then later, he said that Living Good had handled the situation incorrectly and was contrite and apologetic. He did confront him in the restroom. Now the story's changed. Now he did confront him in the restroom. That's not in question. Inappropriately, by the way. And we recognize that we are addressing that.
Wow.
The head of the Harrison County School District said, clearly the way we've handled this is inappropriate. Perhaps we need to do a better job about how we handle these situations. It's a relatively new issue over the past several years that we've become more aware and sensitive of.
It's not a relatively new idea to treat a human being like a human being and have respect and give them dignity.
Right.
So if that's a hard concept for these motherfuckers to get on board with, then maybe, just maybe, they shouldn't be put in positions where they are supposed to protect, nurture, and educate our children.
Yep.
Just a thought.
It reminds me of the conversation that I had with a childhood friend who is now a school administrator herself. And I think we talked about that on the show when that came up, because I had seen one of these news stories and I sent her the thing. And her response was like, oh, we have non-binary and trans kids and it's no big deal, and our district is great and the county is great, and but so many schools haven't considered how to handle a trans student because they've never encountered one.
Right.
So again, this is why we spend so much damn time talking about legal protections for trans people, especially trans youth. The way the student was treated by the assistant principal was nothing short of bullying. And a 4-day suspension paid doesn't cut it.
Like, okay. And I don't understand why the training isn't available, because let's be honest, they spend all kinds of money training teachers on how to evacuate the kids for a fire. And it's very likely in most cases that most kids that are evacuated in fire drills repeatedly, like I think they have to do it once a month, will never have to evacuate because of a real fire.
Right.
The statistics are probably, I don't know, I'm just guessing here.
No, you're probably right.
But statistically, I would think that you're more likely to encounter a trans or non-binary child in school than you are to have to evacuate because of an actual real-life fire. So...
And the programs are available. Like, that's the thing.
Right.
The problem is that you have administrators like this who don't want to be supportive of the issue
Right, yeah.
of trans people, of trans kids. And so they know that if they start reaching out to organizations saying, how do we handle this? The response is going to be, you let them use the restroom.
Yeah.
And they don't want to hear that. So
And
they
this
just
whole,
do nothing.
come out and use the urinal.
Oh, that's some bullshit.
You know what? And I'm a bitch. But if anybody said that to me, I would be like, man, this is when I wish I could shit on command. Because I'd go out and shit in that urinal. And
Right?
okay.
Well, the ACLU is fighting on behalf of the student to make changes to the school district policy, and hopefully they'll make some progress. But every time I see one of these stories, I'm a little less surprised.
It's maddening, is what it is.
And Dan says another one of many examples is why LGBTQ should be included as a protected class. Absolutely.
And there's no good reason that they shouldn't be.
Right.
I don't know why.
Well, here's the thing, and I get this. We shouldn't have to write in every little thing, and I know I've talked about this before. When you look at the 1964 Civil Rights Act, when you interpret that in the future, there's two ways to interpret it. You can interpret it to the letter of the law, which is they said specifically race, religion, color, creed, yada yada yada. Right. If they'd meant to include queer people, they would have put queer people in there. And so if you want to add that, then you go back to the legislature and you add it on, right? And then there's a way to interpret that in the legal system that is the intent of the law. And the intent of the law was to prohibit discrimination against
people,
a group of people because they belong to that group of people.
Right.
And so if everyone would just get it, that's the intent, that's the purpose of it.
You wouldn't need
we wouldn't
to
have
add
to
everything,
go
yeah.
Right.
But because people are so cold-hearted, this is where we are.
Well, if you're still unconvinced about why all of that policy work is important, we know that trans people experience extremely high rates of suicide and self-harm, and we see incidents in the news where trans people are murdered just for being trans. The ideology that trans people are weirdos and should be separated from normal society drives the bullying and harassment that often leads to self-harm and suicide, and gives the people who believe it, at least in their own minds, justification to kill us themselves. And of course, that often comes from a religious place. 36-year-old Detroit trans woman Kelly Stough was found dead in a Detroit street by police earlier this month. Authorities are now saying that her transgender status played a role in her fatal shooting. Albert Weathers, a 20-year member and current pastor for the last several years at Logos Baptist Church, has been charged with open murder and use of a firearm in commission of a felony. A probable cause hearing was scheduled for the 20th, but I couldn't find any mainstream or local news outlets with any updates to that story after the 20th. But the Wayne County Prosecutor's Office said evidence of how Stough's transgender status was relevant to the case would be presented in court. And I don't want to make any assumptions, even though I have a few ideas in my mind of what we may find out as this, case moves forward. But again, little will surprise me.
Right.
Right. But that's the worst case scenario, really, the death of one of us. And all of that shit, when you allow that in schools, when you allow these people to challenge students to use a certain style of toilet in order to prove their boyhood,
right?
Like, the slap on the wrist that this guy got for that is not enough to either change the behavior or send the message.
Right.
And so, would I be surprised to see this guy do something worse? Not at all.
No.
Absolutely not. But we allow that kind of nonsense to happen in our society.
Right.
And that just builds up to, and the worst of that is we get killed. Gonna take a break? We're about halfway through.
Sure. Sorry.
You need a nap?
I need a sugar injection. We've been eating so much sugar, I'm like crashing.
All right, well, don't crash.
Okay, I'll try not to.
We'll take a real short break, and then when we come back, you think churches always follow the law?
No.
Well, if you do, think again. A story of one church getting caught blurring the lines. Plus, we'll check in on the war on Christmas one last time before Christmas is here. And we'll do a Florida Man segment.
Yay, Florida Man.
We'll do that right after this. You're listening to Sarah Talk.
I was feeling so alone.
I was going through a really difficult time.
I was embarrassed and a little scared.
I didn't want to bother anyone.
I didn't think they'd understand.
I thought it would just make things worse.
It was tough at first, but I did it.
It ended up taking a huge weight off my shoulders.
I feel a lot better.
I'm glad I asked for help.
I asked for help. I asked for help.
I asked my teacher. I asked my aunt.
I asked my dad.
I asked my mom.
I asked the Trevor Project.
Now, I feel like I can get through this.
I know that I am brave.
You can do this.
You can do this.
You can do this.
Ask for help.
Ask for help.
Ask for help.
Ask for help.
Whatever it is, ask for help.
If you're thinking about suicide or need support, call the Trevor Lifeline at 1-866-488-7386. Trained counselors are there to help 24/7. Ask for help.
Atheist of the Church of Religious Avoidance down here in Bumblefuck, Alabama. Now, my friends, my people, my brothers and sisters, do you feel lost? Do you feel that swelling urge to be a part of something better? Well, let the word of SarahTalk help you. If you've never known the word SarahTalk, learn it, live it, love it. Can I get an amen? No? Good, 'cause we don't do that shit around here. My friends, we must all remember that the good word of SarahTalk doesn't happen for free. So get yourself over to patreon.com/SarahTalk and help us spread the word. Plant that seed and help it grow into secular, peer-reviewed empirical evidence for the good of all. In the name of the Sarah, the Becca, and the science-based podcast, amen, hallelujah, and holy shit.
SarahTalk is horrible.
These are tough people.
They prey on the vulnerable. They hurt women and children. They spread human misery and suffering. I'll tell you what, SarahTalk should be ashamed of itself. Sarah, you are a rude, terrible person. The way you treat Donald Trump is horrible. And the way you treat other people are horrible. You shouldn't treat people that way. Honestly, I think you should let me run the country. You run SarahTalk. And if you did it well, your ratings would be much better.
Are you worried?
That's enough. That's enough.
Mr. President,
That's enough. That's enough. That's enough. Put down the mic.
Oh, thank you, Mr. President.
I think.
Hey, if you'd like to record a bumper for us.
I mean, I guess if he liked us, then he wouldn't want that.
I can make one of those too.
If
If you'd like to make a bumper for us, you can call 224-40-SARAH, 224-407-2724, or you can text that number as well, record a little snippet, and we'll play it on the bumpers coming in and out of breaks.
That was good.
And big thanks to Donald Trump for saying all those things. So there's an organization that has cataloged all of his speeches, all of his rallies, his tweets, like the interviews that he's done, televised interviews. And it's all searchable. The transcripts are searchable, so you can just type in whatever word you're looking for to make Trump say it.
You can make him
and he
say
just
it.
glue it together. Yeah, it's great.
Oh, I know. That's why you were coming to bed so late at night.
No, I did that today.
I'm kidding.
Yeah, I did that today. Right before we came in, actually.
Oh, that was funny.
Hey, welcome back to SarahTalk.
She said, make sure you put your headphones on. You got to listen to the new bumper. And I was like, oh, here we go. That was actually pretty good, though.
Thanks. Thank you very much. In the religion segment tonight, this headline from the Miami Herald. The ultimate nightmare scenario for this historic Miami church. a $7 million tax bill.
What? A church to pay taxes?
Mm-hmm. A lot of people say that churches should just be taxed outright anyways.
They should.
And not given any special exemption or privileges.
Mm-hmm.
But there is a scenario where churches do need to pay taxes. Their tax exemption only applies, according to Florida Statute 196.196, to only the portions of a property that are used predominantly for charitable, religious, scientific, which is an interesting phrasing, or literary purposes, also interesting. Those can be deemed exempt from taxation. And so, the First Presbyterian Church of Miami, the oldest organized congregation in the city, has been charged $7.1 million in taxes on church grounds, which the Miami-Dade property appraiser claims was leased to a for-profit school and food trucks, violating the religious exemption status. The church is home to a K-8 religious school, which opened in 2008, and so the bill comprises a tax lien of total $6.5 million, including interest and fines, for the years 2009 to 2017, and then a current bill of about $510,000 for the 2018 year. And again, the tax isn't on the entire property, only the portion of the church property that's deemed to be in violation,
Sure.
which is about 29 to 35%, depending on the year.
Mm-hmm.
The school is Key Point Christian Academy, which has about 175 students and 45 teachers. It's an interesting student-teacher ratio, isn't it? Jesus Christ. 175 students and 45 teachers.
What's the ratio to that? That's like insanity.
I'm not going to do math live on air.
Yeah, but that's like what? 2 kids per
two or
teacher?
three?
Maybe 3 in some cases?
3. Yeah, 3 or maybe 4.
Oh.
And tuition for kindergarten through 5th grade runs $15,850 a year.
I would hope so.
To send
if you're
your
getting,
kid to this school, right? Each kid gets their own teacher.
Basically one-on-one, because, I mean, you spend an hour with each one and just alternate the hours all day.
I guess. 6th through 8th grade tuition costs $16,185.
What are they paying the teachers is what I want.
I don't know. Attorneys for the First Presbyterian Church argue that the school is, quote, motivated by the church's sincere religious beliefs, and asked for a jury trial to determine if the entire property should be exempt from taxation.
Okay, a church is a building and it cannot have sincere anything.
Right.
But
hey, but you know, they ruled in that fucking playground case. The hell was the name of that church? That the church's playground should be eligible for public funds because
I can't remember the name
it
of the
has
church,
a secular purpose or some nonsense, right?
Thank you, Dan. I love you. Dan did the math. It's 3.88888888 children per teacher.
A local attorney who is not representing this church but does represent many churches, synagogues, and mosques around the country told the Miami Herald that he doesn't see any discrimination against religion in this case, and I tend to agree.
Yep.
Quote, what's happening to this church is the ultimate nightmare scenario. I don't see this as religious discrimination. I don't see anything that suggests the county is acting in a mean or arbitrary way. To me, it sounds like you've got a church that is leasing out a school, they're making money, and not paying what they owe.
Mm-hmm.
End quote. So, yeah, that sounds about right to me.
Yeah, like... I can't.
Once upon a time, I operated a home-based business.
Mm-hmm.
Did computer repair and website design, and because I operated a registered business from my home, I was able to claim certain exemptions. So, if whatever it was, 20% of my personal cell phone was used for business purposes, then I could claim 20% of the total amount of money I spent on cell phone for the year. And, the garage where I had my shop set up was 18% of the house or whatever, and that was used for business purposes, so I claimed that back on as a business purpose, right? But I didn't get to claim the whole house as my business. Like,
yeah.
It makes sense to me here. I think this is a similar idea.
My dog lives in my house that I work out of my house for, and my dog keeps my feet warm while I work. So can I claim the dog's food?
Right. Right. So if you're using church property to conduct a business, that property no longer gets religious exemptions. I think that's pretty clear. But we'll have to wait and see. I mean, if that thing bubbles all the way up to the Supreme Court.
That'll be interesting.
I like beer. Hey, let's check in one last time. Christmas is coming, y'all.
Oh.
Let's check in one last time on the war on Christmas.
In a world on the brink of chaos,
why were the shepherds in their fields in winter?
as faith wavers,
I'm just not sure we should do the whole church thing this year.
one man will make a journey unlike anything you've seen before.
Where's your tree?
Dude, I'm Jewish.
This holiday season, a savior will rise up,
Oh, honey, Santa can't afford the new Xbox.
and a religion will fall.
We're saying Merry Christmas again.
And again and again and again.
Diana Rowling of Louisiana received a letter from her loving Christian neighbor who was concerned about her yard display this year. The letter, which came by mail in a plain white envelope with a Christmas stamp on it, says, redacted. They whited out the something neighbor. Like, dear, obviously it didn't say dear neighbor. It probably said dear fucking piece of shit neighbor. I don't know what it said, but it was redacted. Neighbor, your dragon display is only marginally acceptable at Halloween. It is totally inappropriate at Christmas. It makes your neighbors wonder if you are involved in a demonic cult. Please consider removing the dragons. May God bless you and help you to know the true meaning of Christmas. And of course, the letter is in all caps, as any good Christian warrior would do.
Did you look at the pictures of this
I
thing?
did. I was gonna, if I had time, I was gonna throw them up on the screen for the live
I don't
feed,
remember
but-
where I saw this because it wasn't. We haven't talked about this.
Uh-huh.
But I saw this thing and I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? This is the most cartoony looking dragon. It's one of those stupid inflatable things, right?
Yeah. Right.
Like how really demonic cult? Seriously, I could understand if this lady had like the float from Disney World that breathes fire and
Right, if it was scary or
if it
something.
looked scary.
Right.
But,
No, these are very cartoony, colorful,
purple and green and
but rather large.
Yeah.
Inflatable dragons, and they were lit very
Yeah.
nicely. It was very nice.
They were
display.
lit. Seriously.
Rowling said she's had dragons for holiday decor for about 4 years and never received a negative reaction until this year. She puts them up for Halloween but takes them down and doesn't reintroduce them until after Thanksgiving, with little holiday touches like ornaments and presents and now Santa hats.
Mm-hmm.
So
it was adorable.
So she tweeted out a picture of this thing with a picture of the letter that she received from a concerned, loving Christian neighbor. And then later that night, that same day, tweeted again, I'm also rather baffled as to how the dragons are only marginally acceptable at Halloween.
Right?
I guess they think I need more dragons. And so she added 2 more dragons, and for good measure, she added halos too, saying, quote, in the spirit of neighborhood harmony, I have placed halos on the dragons. They are now angels. Ezekiel 1 through 28, I'll fight anyone who says different. Now, Ezekiel 1 through 28 describes the biblical lunatic's mushroom vision of a creature which, in some ways, seems to resemble dragons. So she's just following scripture. What's the problem? I don't see an issue.
I like the dragons.
I think it's great.
I mean, seriously. Marginally acceptable during Halloween. What kind of fucking rock are these people living under that they don't understand?
Of course, when the story went viral, like an episode of The Great Christmas Light Fight, people are itching to help fill the yard with dragons. Quote, I've been getting a lot of messages about fundraisers or collections to buy me more dragons, she said on Twitter, but I would much rather any Dragon Army money be donated to a worthy charity of your choice.
Oh, good for her.
Let's make this holiday season about joy and charity for all. Thanks.
That is amazing.
No.
Because it would be so easy to like,
Sure.
Well, right. All these
Yeah,
people
let's
want to
do
give
it.
all over the roof, all over the. But good for her.
Yeah. Thank you, Diana.
That's amazing. I hadn't seen that part of the story.
And your Grinchy neighbor sounds like they just need to pull the stick out of their ass and enjoy the view.
I
think I would love to have one of our neighbors put up a dragon display.
Maybe they should print out a train ticket style stub and leave it on the neighbor's door, like a one-way ticket to Whoville, and see if they can get their heart to grow.
There you go. our inflatables died this year. We had
It's
two
so
small.
upsetting.
I mean, they were smallish. Right?
4 foot tall.
Yeah, we had a snowman
Like a
and
snowman
a
and a
gingerbread
ginger.
man.
Not a gingerbread.
Right. There was an inflatable Russell in our front yard.
Had a Ron Weasley.
God.
They both died. It was really traumatizing for our little guy because he's like,
Well, and we thought about putting up doing the Yoda, where there's a Yoda inflatable, and then you leave the other inflatables
and
not
he's
inflated.
standing there with his lightsaber.
And it looks like Yoda killed them all.
Yeah, it would have been really cool. We might do that eventually. I'm going to save those ones. I'm going to put them in a bucket on their own broken whatevers, and
right.
Maybe one of these days when I have budget on yard lights.
And
right now we have 2 different color strings of lights in our house.
It's so funny. And we were driving around the neighborhood the other night and found another house that has like the same 2 different colored strings, and I said we should knock on the door and offer to switch
one of our strings with them so
that we'll both have matching sets.
We're a mess.
And it wouldn't be a war on Christmas at all if we didn't get an update from the war room itself, the promulgators of this mythical war in the first damn place, Fox News. Taking up the banner from Sean Hannity, Fox News host and confused teenager trying to figure out what Baby It's Cold Outside is all about, Tucker Carlson is weighing in on all the holiday outrage this year. Have a listen.
Well, the war on Christmas is not real. They tell you it all the time. It's totally fake. And if you believe in it, you're dumb. You watch Fox News or something. But it's also, of course, going on. And it's being fought very fiercely here in America, but not just in America. The war on Christmas is a global struggle. In the Parliament of Scotland, they have a national parliament. The coffee shop has stopped selling gingerbread men. Why? Gender specific. They're now called gingerbread people. You don't want to give them a gender without their consent.
You know what? I'm stop.
Okay.
I worked for a theme park that markets shot glasses as toothpick holders so as not to offend the family clientele.
Right.
But this is just ridiculous.
You don't even want to know how many bathrooms there are in gingerbread houses now.
There's one, maybe 2. And they're all single.
The one is the guest bathroom and one is the one where you poop.
Right. Yeah. Who is that?
Well, I don't remember who that
Colbert
was.
or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's maybe 2 bathrooms in a gingerbread house, and they're not like multi-stall public restrooms. You jackass.
Idiot.
Lot. Tammy Bruce is a radio host and president of Independent Women's Voice, and she joins us tonight. Tammy, so I have this sneaking suspicion that a lot of the people who are doing things like this are actually right-wing plants there to discredit the progressives they live among. Do you think that's possible?
I don't. I think, though, that they're...
Look at Tucker's face. And way to open with such a question, right? No, and we'll talk about this, but I believe all of this stuff comes from the right. I do.
I know, it's very funny. And now I've been starting to think about the complicated structure of gingerbread houses because of your comment. I'm just wondering how many bathrooms can they get into one house?
How many bathrooms can you get into your house? It's a house.
Guess how many bathrooms are in my gingerbread house? There's 1 room in a gingerbread house, unless you've got a mansion that has 2 floors. But
right, it's not like a gingerbread shopping mall or a gingerbread airport or some shit. Like,
it's not the gingerbread house at the Grand Floridian that they actually put a store into.
Yeah, right. Right.
But look, here is the problem, and it just proves, of course, our point in general. The left has worked now for a couple of generations to condition us to, ahead of time, worry about what we're going to say. Even your last segment, of course, is about that, a little bit of challenging people and threatening them and making sure that they know that there's danger in those thoughts. And so this baker, she said it was a whim, that she just thought, like for no good reason, that she should not call them gingerbread men and call them a gingerbread person. And I couldn't tell, obviously, because they're also not wearing clothes.
And they also aren't anatomically correct.
Yeah, especially if they're not wearing clothes.
I'd written this for later, but if the Republican position is you're a man if you have a penis,
I hadn't even thought
then
about
the
that.
gingerbread people are all Non-gender specific. All of them.
But I hadn't even thought about that until she just said they're not wearing clothes. So how do you know?
Right. And they put a picture on the screen of gingerbread people wearing clothes.
Yikes.
Sounds like the world's ending outside. We better finish this up.
So it's hard to say what it is that they are and what they're doing and what they're not doing. But she said she was also shocked by the response. And that's the good news, Tucker, is that this is in again, Scotland, the United Kingdom. And the backlash, she was apparently shocked that people were really upset about this. And I contend, after a series of, living your entire life being kind of bullied into what you can and cannot say and presumptions that you're bad people, that it can be the smallest thing that tips you over the edge. That's the tipping point. And in this case, it's, calling gingerbread men a gingerbread person when obviously they're men.
God, there was so much in that. Where do
They're
I want to go?
They're fucking cookies, lady.
Right. Right. But But we're bullying you into using language that's respectful to people?
I'm sorry.
Oh my God. You're a mess.
Dan says gingerbread house, now known as Russell Bread House.
How many restrooms can you put in a Russell Bread house?
Oh my God. Oh my God. I could see Russell's face right now. Just kidding.
Another thing that I found interesting about this is her glee in the outrage that people pushed back on this baker. Let me think back of 2018. Did we cover any news stories about bakeries? Yeah.
Well, so maybe the lesson is that the rest of us shouldn't participate in our own spiritual neutering, and that we should, at every step along the way, say, I'm not complying with.
I'm not going to buy a gingerbread person. You sell me a gingerbread man, damn it. Is that what you're going to do? Is that your solution?
I mean, and have you looked at the gingerbread men? They're kind of neutered too, dude.
With that,
I'm
sorry. Call HR on me. I'm not doing it.
And look, this
call HR. HR is probably. Look, I'm not suggesting that he's touched or said inappropriate things to women in the workplace.
I'm sure they've investigated him for something.
But I wouldn't hold my breath.
Radio station is a very good example of that. Baby, It's Cold Outside. The famous song has come under fire for being inappropriate. And a station in Ohio cut it off of their list. Well, a Kentucky radio station decided to put it on a loop, 5 different versions, because it's been covered by everybody, and they played it continuously for 2 hours. Obviously, Kentucky for 2 hours on Sunday was Nirvana. And they just play it, and everybody loved it, and they said, look, we stand behind this, we're going to play it, we're not afraid, and that's a very good idea, is that this is the one way to stop it, is to do the thing that the bullies and the establishment tell you that you're not allowed to do in an effort to control you. And as a statement, I think sometimes that's important.
I agree. And also being an independent thinker in a time of mandatory conformity pays off in the end.
Exactly.
We've got to hope.
So you're conforming to the Trump talking points and agenda and platform and party. And the rest of us that are pushing back on that establishment.
Right. We're
How's
the
that
bullies.
different? Right. We're
just
the
because
bullies.
we want you to actually recognize real people that might have a different gender identity than they were born with.
Right.
Fuck the fucking cookies.
Right.
Stupidest story I've ever heard.
Look, I included this because there's been a lot of new fake outrage like this year.
Yeah.
We didn't really talk about the Baby It's Cold Outside thing.
Yeah.
I don't know that I care about my position about that. There are a lot of people in my circle that are that are in agreement that it is rapey and we'd be better off without it. There are others who have heard the compelling argument that the things that they're saying and the way that they're being said had different meanings in the time that this recording,
right.
the original song was written and recorded, and I can see that too. It makes little difference to me, honestly. And shoot me emails if that bothers you. I'd like to hear why I should care. because there's another one of these things. So it's like banning literature, right? We used to have all these banned books, and these books that get banned because they have themes in them that are that were okay when they were written, or maybe they weren't. And in our civilized 2018 society, we don't look at them the same way. I will give you a great example: Disney's Song of the South. That movie had been banned. Has been banned in the United States, and you in order to watch that movie, you bootleg a copy on the dark web. Like you just can't get it. And I understand why that decision was made. I understand that that there are characters and themes and things in it that are highly offensive to black people in America, but also I think there is a historical context in which one can appreciate that film as saying, look at where we came from.
Right. You can't erase and whitewash your history.
Right.
You have to be able to preserve it so that you can look back and go, man, that was fucked up. Look how we've grown. Or, man, we used to do things so much better back then. Why, because it goes both ways. It really does.
Oh, yeah. Sure. So play the song, don't play the song. I don't give a fuck. That's what that comes down to.
I think there's more important things to be offended about. There's more important things to worry about. It's a song that was written how many years ago, and these people that are saying, oh, it supports rape culture, it bothers me because you can't just, yes, we should totally not be supportive of rape culture.
Right.
Like, we need to be able to rein that in, and that discussion needs to happen. But you can't just throw that card on the table and then that wins the argument either. We have to have an actual discussion about it. But I think that song, nobody is going to listen to that song and think, oh, I'm going to go rape a couple.
Right.
Nobody does that. So I don't think, there are songs that are talking about killing somebody and murdering somebody. There's some hardcore, murderous, killing songs that can get people actually riled up and make them angry enough to go out and possibly do those things.
Yep.
But I don't think a Christmas song from whatever the 40s is going to actually encourage somebody to go rape somebody.
Right. And like the Song of the South, if we lock it away in a lockbox and never look at it again, then if you're of the position that it is rapey and problematic, and then we don't learn from it,
right?
Because it's taken away from society completely. And I think there's a way that you can include it and use it that way. Fox News hosts clutched their pearls at the idea of a gender-neutral Santa Claus. You remember that one? That came through?
I don't know that
Gender-neutral Santa Claus. I posted about it in the group because the boys over at Gayish were talking about Black Santa and their theory that Black Santa and not Black Santa are just married.
I've thought about this a lot lately because, with the kids, oh, Santa this, Santa that, oh, well, maybe Santa will take care of it. And we always refer to Santa as he. And, I got to thinking about it, and I'm like, well, we're Santa. And
right.
So I was thinking about that,
right.
Why can't we have a gender-neutral Santa or multiple versions of different, I don't know.
But anyway, I think a lot of this scandal, a lot of this outrage is stoked. I don't want to be a conspiracy theorist, but I think a lot of this outrage is stoked by the right.
Yeah.
I think
sure.
The gingerbread people come out and say, well, we're not calling them gingerbread men anymore.
Well, and I really wonder. Because they had to go to Scotland for that story. I would really like to see the Scotland news coverage of that to see if it's really that big of a deal over there.
Right.
Or if it was just one little baker made one little decision and she had a couple people that were like, oh, and then Fox News tries to go, oh, story.
Right.
I just wonder.
And then gender-neutral Santa Claus. Who's the one getting outraged by that idea? It's the right.
Yeah, of course.
And then the idea about baby, it's cold outside is a little different because, yes, there are people on the progressive side of things that see it as problematic, but I don't think they're outraged about it until the right goes, well, you can't take away our beloved Christmas classic.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with that song. I think what you see from the left is a response from the outrage on the right, I think.
Well, there's So many things, like the Christmas traditions. How many times have we watched Rudolph this week?
A million.
And
you got the DVD, and our daughter just absolutely
she
loves
it. And it's funny because I'm like, it's not really my favorite. And every time I watch it, I just want to punch the TV screen because Rudolph's dad is a dick.
Santa's a dick.
Santa's a dick.
Yep.
The stupid elf boss is a dick.
Yeah.
And then they're singing this song, and there's elves. I'm just a nitwit. What is this? Is not a kids movie.
Right.
Like,
and it turns around.
It does
and it
turn
has a
around,
thing
and
to
it
it,
ends in a really good place. But there's so many.
Right.
Not just Christmas.
Right.
But so many childhood. Stories.
Things that we look back with very fondly.
That you have a soft spot for, but really, if you sit and examine it long enough,
right,
you're gonna find all the imperfections, and you're gonna go, "Whoa."
And I think one question would be: are kids watching this thing and taking away the problems that we see, or are they just enjoying a fucking animated thing? I don't know.
Yeah, I wish I could. I don't know. I wish I could remember.
Oh. Yeah.
When because I don't remember watching it every year as a kid because we didn't. Like I remember watching it when I was really little at my grandma's house, but then there was like a whole 20 years or whatever where I didn't watch Christmas anything.
Right.
And so the first time I watched it as an adult was probably the first time I watched it with an understanding of anything. Because the last time I watched it, I was probably like 7 years old maybe. And then in my late 20s, when I moved here, actually, I would watch it with my friend's daughter, who was just a little baby. It was like about 10 years ago. But even then, like I remember going, man, this movie is messed up. Like, it just gave me a bad feeling, not also, a nostalgic Christmas.
Right, but I think like for some people, there is a nostalgia in that where, like maybe even when my dad was a kid, like think back to just a generation or two, and like the coach, who's talking about how you can't do this with that, and you're basically useless because you're different, and screw you, and it's you can fly, that was great, and then the covering off his nose comes off, and he was like, oh, that's too bad, you were. Yeah, you showed a lot of promise there, but you're a fucking freak, so now we can't use you.
Right.
Like, in the same way that, coaches yelled at boys in the PE class that, come on,
Man
run
up.
Faster, girls, or whatever, and
yeah.
stupid shit like that,
and that they're still doing, mind you.
That's,
Like, it's still happening. We had an experience last week where I found out that the coach at our school is, like, teasing the kids, the third graders, they saying they're running like kindergartners or whatever. And they'll say, no, we're third grade. Oh, you're 3 years old? Like.
Right, not appropriate.
No, not appropriate at all. And it's just like one of those things, it's like, is that just, when is that mentality going to die out?
Yeah.
Because it really needs to have happened.
Yeah.
Already. Because you can't do that to kids. Like, and I don't know. We're spiraling off into something else.
Well, then let's finish up the story. The story. Let's finish up the show.
Whoa,
Let's finish up the show. And hey, we're doing right on time here.
Good.
Almost right at an hour. Let's finish things out here with a Florida man, brought to you by our top patrons: part-time patron Russell, Mandy Imus, rhymes with Schmamerd Schmillis. Any guesses what that could be? John, go to your room.
Go to your room, John. At the Wayward Willis.
Lamont and Dan. Thank you all so much for supporting our thing here. And here is this week's Florida Man.
Well, you know what they say. All the best stories start with Florida Man, 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 Florida Man. Florida Man, Florida Man, Florida Man, Florida Man, Florida Man, Florida Man, Florida. And sometimes a Florida woman.
You're not supposed to sing along with Brent. You're supposed to just let him
so good.
Sing it.
I wasn't singing into the mic.
Oh, okay. Well, I could hear you.
Oh,
so.
sorry. I'll sing a little quieter next time. Jesus. Our first story today, a lot of people take on extra seasonal jobs during the holiday season to make some extra cash.
You don't say.
One Florida man in Spring Hill went into a job interview at Kohl's earlier this month and left wearing handcuffs.
Oh.
Dominic Breedlove was charged with retail theft after deputies say he tried to shoplift shoes just minutes after he left a job interview at the store in Spring Hill.
Oh, no.
After leaving the Human Resources Office, the Hernando County Sheriff's Office says Breedlove spotted 2 pairs of Nike shoes without security tags.
Oh, an idiot.
He grabbed a Kohl's shopping bag from a previous purchase out of his car, so he had to leave the thing, go get in his car, get a bag, come back, and put both pairs of shoes into the bag and tried to leave the building.
That's dumb. That just signals to the security people watching that, oh, this guy left and then he came back in. What's he up to?
He didn't get very far. That's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
A loss prevention worker was watching him the entire time, called the sheriff's office to report the crime in progress.
Oh, my God.
Breedlove was taken into custody in the parking lot and told investigators he was going to give the shoes to his mother. Mm-hmm. And the question on everyone's mind, of course, no, he did not get the job.
Wow.
Your second story of a Florida man tonight. A South Florida man, 55-year-old Angel Hugo Soles Romagera, is accused of stealing a Christmas wreath off the front door of a home and then hanging it outside his own home.
Oh, that's lovely.
He's now facing burglary and petty theft charges in the December 7th incident that was captured on a Ring front door camera. We got to get us one of those.
I really need one of those.
Hialeah Police Lieutenant...
Hialeah. Of course it was Hialeah. Of course it was Hialeah. You said South Florida, and I was like, oh, it's going to be Miami. Hialeah. Ding, ding, ding. Okay, go on. Sorry.
Hialeah Police Lieutenant Eddie Rodriguez told WPLG that Romagera turned himself in last Tuesday night after learning that police were searching for him. Investigators had spotted the wreath hanging outside his home, which is about 4 miles from the victim's house.
Oh, my God. That's so funny. I do want one of those Ring doorbells.
I do, too. Your choices tonight.
I'm feeling in the Christmas spirit.
The Christmas Shoes puts a whole new spin on the Christmas Shoes Jesus-y song.
Never heard it.
Oh, I know what we're doing later.
Damn it.
Or deck the halls with other people's decorations.
I really like that one. I think that's my choice.
I think mine too.
It's hilarious.
It's pretty funny though.
It's funny, but it's not funny because I actually know somebody who had bought the Star Wars inflatables, which are not cheap. Put them out, and they got stolen from her front yard.
That's bullshit.
And I was like, that's why I'm not buying those stupid $100 Star Wars inflatables.
Buy the cheap ones at Aldi.
That only last for 2 years.
Yeah, but hey.
So
what?
Deck the halls, Russell says.
Yeah, I think that's the way. I tried to find 2 very Christmassy ones, but they're just
not
give
so
them
much.
give them time. Maybe next week we'll have
we're gonna have to do
something a little more Christmassy. Dan picks Christmas shoes.
Yeah.
There you go. Dan, are you familiar with the song?
Yeah, Dan.
I won't play it for copyright infringement reasons, but
we need to know.
Hey, so that's it for this week. I'm so glad to be back and have you back and have you all back and be doing the thing live. And
next week we're not gonna.
Next week we're probably not gonna be live.
Sorry.
Well, maybe not. I mean, we may find time to do it, but
it just might not
probably
be
won't be at
live.
our regular time because we're gonna be out.
We got some.
Family's here and we've got a lot going on. It's Christmas week and.
Once Sarah gets back to work.
Yeah, then we're back to normal.
Then we're gonna go back to normal
Right.
immediately. So it's just maybe another week or two. We might be kind of on the fringe, kind of throwing together stuff.
So.
Nope. Dan doesn't know the song either.
Nope.
See, I am not the
I'm gonna
only
have to.
clueless.
I'll post a link later.
Yeah.
Well, I hope everyone has a fun, drama-free holiday, and if you don't, call us next week. I'd love to hear about it. Hey, and just a reminder: on Christmas morning, I will be releasing our annual holiday show, Holidays for Heathens. So you can listen to that on Christmas Day, which is it's kind of a History Channel style look into the true meaning of Christmas.
I thought on Christmas morning we were gonna open presents.
We are. I can schedule it to go automatically.
All right.
This is how this works.
Okay. I just want to make sure that you didn't forget.
No. I haven't done it yet, but I will. I promise. Thanks to all of our wonderful patrons. If you'd like to join them and get access to our episodes early. Always get early access, patron-only content, the video vault, and more. Head to patreon.com/SarahTalk. And if you want to give us some love, but you can't do that financial thing at the moment, that's fine too. Give us a glowing 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, or wherever you listen to the show. And if you want to call and leave us a message, 224-40-SARAH, 224-407-2724. You can record a bumper that way, and we'll mix it into the show.
Yeah.
All right, thanks everybody for listening. We'll see you whenever we do the show again, and we love you all. Bye.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Sarah Talk is made possible by listener support. Visit patreon.com/SarahTalk to become a patron and help keep this program going. Contact Sarah and Company by email at producer@sarahtalk.com or call 224-40-SARAH. That's 224-407-2724. And follow us on social media, facebook.com/SarahTalkRadio, and on Twitter @SarahTalkRadio. The opinions and information provided on this show are intended for entertainment purposes only. All opinions are solely that of the hosts and their guests. We make no representations as to accuracy, completeness, timeliness, or validity of any information and will not be liable for any errors or damages. Sarah Talk is a production of Sarah Austin Media.